Hey, this is Ed, former Hells Angel, California, and I'm chatting with Staxx.
Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got former 1%er, Ed. What's up, Ed?
How you doing, Bill?
I'm doing great. Things are good.
Good
Thank you
deal.
for
Good
taking
deal.
the time. I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on the show.
So where were you born and raised?
Pennsylvania, small town out about an hour outside of Philly. Pretty much raised there my whole life. Just typical small town stuff, nothing special. Running around with the older kids and playing stick fights and rock fights growing up.
Were you getting into trouble at all?
Like I said, it's a small town. There wasn't a lot of trouble. There was no like real street gangs or anything like that. Motorcycle clubs weren't really around my area. So it was little things, throw rocks at cars or through a house window or something little like that. Like cops maybe came to my house one or two times. My buddies rapped me out because they got caught first, but nothing ever really, nothing too crazy.
Where'd your life go from there?
Well, I grew up, you know, watching the old cheesy '60s, '70s biker films, and you kind of get a feeling that hey, that's pretty cool. I wouldn't mind doing something like that. When you're 10, 12, 13 years old, you don't really think that's what you're going to do. But I guess it's already always in the back of your mind. And I get through high school, and I always said I was going to move to California. I landed a job that had a place out there. So first opportunity I got to transfer out with the company, I took it, and there I went.
And what was your first introduction to motorcycles out there?
Oh, out there? Well, my first introduction to motorcycles, actually, I won my first motorcycle in a raffle down in Philly on South Street when I was probably about two years before I moved out there. So I won that and rode it around for a year, pretty much just by myself, and sold it, moved out there, and just as soon as I saved up a few bucks, went and put some money down on a new Softail, and there we go.
When you first went out to California, did you associate with any clubs?
No, when I first went out there, I didn't know, I knew there were clubs out there, but that really wasn't my scene that I knew of. And then the more I'm out there, then you start seeing them, and then you're like, see a couple guys, or you're driving your car down the freeway, and all of a sudden one or two guys, because out there you can, cut lanes and stuff like that. And I just thought to myself, man, I want to be able to ride like that. I've been riding for a couple of years, but not like that. So I got that bike, and I just went out in the roads and just started hauling ass and trying to ride like that. And I started riding like that, and then you start getting around.
Did you start hanging out at bars, and is that where you first came across like introduction to these people?
Funny thing is, I had a girlfriend of mine. We were just like friends or whatever, and she was working at a bar. She knew I started getting intrigued with the club life and stuff like that. So one day I come home from work. Here she has one of the guys, one of the local Hells Angels guys, at our place to meet me, and I started talking to him, and he was cool, man. He was nice, and we just sat there and talked for probably 2-3 hours, and then I think that was about it because prior to that, I was looking for people to ride out there. I moved across the country. I don't know anybody, and I went to the local hog chapter, and I would try to walk up and start introducing myself to people like, hey, I'm Ed from blah blah blah. I'm out here, and they were just ignorant. I was like, you're not welcome at all. I'm like, they didn't even want to bother with me. So I was like, screw you guys. I never go back to a meeting again.
You need an inside person to introduce you to people, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So what was it like after you get this introduction? Where do you go from there?
Well, I met this member, and you know, he said he's going to be out. Palm Springs always had a big motorcycle rally, and he said he'd be out there to go look for him. I was like, all right. So I, went out, rode out, and found out where they were at. I don't remember the name of the bar there in that town, but it's not there anymore. They condemned it and tore it down probably because we all hung out there all the time. But yeah, I met up with him and he recognized me right away. He's like, "Hey, come on over. Let's go get a bite to eat." And then he started introducing me to guys. And that night, he said, "Hey, why don't you just spend the night here?" I was like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, stay with me and my girlfriend." Pull off, park the bikes. Yeah, I go in. He goes, "Go take your stuff in and wash up." Wow, he pushed my bike in the garage for me and everything. I was like, "Wow!" I was like, "This is this is like a brotherhood, That's how it should be."
Yeah.
I wasn't even anybody. I barely knew the guy.
From there, where does it go? Do you go back home and you're like, damn, I really like hanging out with these guys?
Yeah, yeah. I met a bunch of guys, that weekend. I mean, they're I don't know, 40, 50, 100. I don't know. I don't remember. I was kind of overwhelmed my first time meeting, more than just one guy. And so I just started, we exchanged numbers and he's had me come over and hang out with him at the clubhouse on his, nights there. And we just started hanging out and getting close and I meeting more members and getting around. And then I just told him, I said, I said, "Man, I really like this." And I was hanging out. It was probably a good, I don't know, a year or two, and I started expressing interest to him. I said, "Yeah, I'd really like to do more," but I'm like, "I don't think I'm ready for, the commitment for your thing, but I'd like to do more." And lo and behold, there's a big startup of Red Devils all over the nation, probably all over the world, I guess, at that time. It's a big explosion, I guess, to help try to grow the club. So he introduced me to the guys that were starting the local charter near me, and I went down and joined them, and like we started. I think it was probably about April 14th of 2002.
When did the Red Devils first come to be? Was it 2001?
2001, 2000, whatever. Yeah, it might have been whatever it was, but it was 2 weeks prior to the Laughlin River Run, the famous, infamous Laughlin River Run. And I'll never forget that because we started out and we must have had 18 or 20 guys, at our first like one or two churches. And then the Laughlin River Run's coming up. So, and I should have thought something was funny, but I was the only one of us that went out there for our charter of the Red Devils. So I went out and I was hanging out with, our sponsored chapter there, Orange County and stuff. And I felt like I missed out on something because I wasn't at the casino that night when it happened. But I'm all now that I think about it, I'm thankful I wasn't there.
Yeah.
That was bad.
When you start hanging around with the Red Devils, do you have to prospect for them?
Yeah, they had their core group that were, buddies for since childhood. That they were all, they were starting. There was probably about 12 or 14 of them, something like that. I don't remember exactly, but they were starting it. And then they had, me. I was the very first prospect, and then a couple others, came right in after. But then, that week after Laughlin, I think we went down from like 18 to 20 to about 12. Then the following week we went down to about 8 or 9. Then another week there was only 6 of us left because
Why? Why were they dropping off?
the big casino brawl out there, and I mean we were out there to support them. There was actually a lot of Red Devils out there, too, with that, behind the scenes and even in the scene there. I guess they just figured that wasn't for them, and the 6 of us stuck around and figured, this could be fun, I guess.
So how long are you with the Red Devils for?
Prospected for a few months only, and maybe 3 or 4. But I was with those guys like every minute, just because I had to be. I was an outsider. I wasn't from around there. I didn't know any. I didn't grow up with those guys, so I just wanted to be around. Made member and was member for probably a year or so, and then it came time to like the whole goal of our specific Red Devils charter was to start a HA chapter there. So when it came time, when we got our time in for that, then we were ready to switch over. Went to our sponsors and said, "Hey, we're ready." And they said, "You sure?" They said, "Yeah, we're sure." And they said, "All right, here you go. You're a hang around now."
So
After
wait,
just,
so
like,
you have a full patch, right?
yeah,
As a Red Devil, do you have a position? Are you an officer at all?
Well, in that case, we all were because there's only six of us at that point, in the Red Devils. So yeah, I don't know. Usually the outcast gets stuck like treasurer or secretary with the deal with the crap. The other
Yeah.
guys don't want to deal with.
So what's that process like when you're a full patch member and you get knocked down to hang around again?
Well, I guess it was kind of exciting because you're taking that big step. So even though you're just a hang around, you're still above a full patch Red Devil. You know,
You're with them.
yeah.
And how long is that process for?
Well, luckily, because we pretty much did our hang around stint at Red Devils, it was only they got to do their official duties and announce to everybody he used to do hang arounds and whatever. And so it was only I think like 2 months, and then we were able to get our bottom rockers for prospecting.
Now, what was that like when you finally get your bottom rocker?
Well,
And
first
yeah,
night we all get it. We all get it at the same time. And we all had so little sewing kits in our pockets. So as soon as you get them, you got to hand stitch it on real quick. And they're like, "Hey, we're going out. Let's go get that on." But you got to have it on good enough so you don't want to come off or someone just can't pull it off. So we're all sitting there, trying. Your fingers are bleeding, trying to get that thing stitch on so you can go out and celebrate. We go out, and we were maybe at the bar 5, 7 minutes. I don't even think half the guys even got a beer yet, and I guess there was a guy there that had some bad history with some of the guys in the club, and he went and called the cops right away, even though nothing happened. He just seen them out there. He called the cops and said that there were problems caused or something like that. This was my first night of the prospect. Next thing you know, there must have been 20 cop cars, probably 40 cops, helicopters flying around. They come running out with a shotguns holding our heads. Get on the ground, get on the ground. Like, what the hell did we do? There was no fights. Nobody even yelled at anybody. It was just crazy.
first night as a
First
prospect.
night, yeah.
And what happens? They pull the guns on you, and
Well,
do they question you or anything?
I think at that point is because our Orange County guys, they were kind of low key for a couple of years just from past instances and stuff like that. So it was like a big shock to see a big group out like that. So they just went all for it. They were just wanting to run everybody's IDs and check out who they were and whatnot. And the funny thing is apparently my license was suspended. I didn't know it from an accident I was in. I guess out in California, and you get in an accident, there's some form you have to file or whatever to do this. And I had an attorney taking care of it. I guess that slipped through the cracks.
Yeah.
So cop comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, are you so and so?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like, "Is that your bike over there?" I'm starting to think something's up. I'm like, "Yeah, that's my bike," because obviously he knows it. Runs the plate. It's mine. And he's like, "Did you ride in here tonight?" So I know. I was like, "Oh, no, no." I said, "One of the guys from out of town, he's on it." I said, I jumped in the car with somebody else, just quick thinking, luckily.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's like, "All right, that's good to know because your license is suspended." I'm like, "Oh, all right, whatever." I can't fight him on that right there on the spot. So I'm like, whatever. I didn't know. And then, everybody takes off, and then I get a ride back from somebody else, leave my bike sitting there because I know they're waiting for me. We
Yeah.
go back I get somebody to take me back about 3:30 in the morning. I jumped on it and took off and, ran like crazy just in case they're still watching.
Is there any other situations that stand out to you?
I mean, there's a lot of fun stuff in between. I mean, I actually, I don't know, a lot of guys kind of complain about the prospecting time. I think back, that's probably some of my best and most fun times. I
Yeah.
mean, it depends on who you are and the charter you're going through. And one of the things that our charter did, which it sounded like it's going to be a horrible idea, but it turned out to be a good thing, is they wanted you to go visit all the West Coast charters on your own time. So,
Yeah, but you're
you know,
always with them, right? And
yeah,
you're at work. So how do you juggle work and
dude.
trying to do all this at the same time?
And I had a little baby girl, you
Oh,
know, she was probably maybe one or two, maybe, I don't know. She was young. And I, I, I actually looked forward to going on some of the runs because I go look up at some of the other members. Because when you're a prospect and you go hang out with other members from other charters, they treat you pretty good usually. You take them out and go out and have a good time. They're like, "Hey, come on back here." You go hang out in the room with them, and you kind of get to take a little nap here and there. So I was like, I look forward to that kind of stuff. because I didn't
Yeah.
get any sleep otherwise. You know, running around with your guys at home and then trying to go to work and raising a baby. It was tough. I can't believe I did it.
Yeah, you're trying to juggle all this stuff at once, right?
Yeah.
Were there times that where you had to pick between different things?
Well, really didn't have a choice when you're a prospect. You know what I mean? Like you got to go. You know. And luckily, with my job, I was there for a long time when I transferred out and stuff. So I had a lot of time off and or you know I was in management, so I could switch with some of the other guys, and they knew what I was doing. So they one or two they would cover for me, and I'd cover for them sometimes. So it was a struggle, but I did it.
I've spoken to a lot of different people, and some people said they had to go stand by the bikes while these guys would be partying. And was it like that too?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it depends on who you are. Some guys are just content. I'm just going to stand at the bikes and that's it. And they're going to do their thing. And yeah, you got to. I'm not saying I didn't do that. Of course I did that, but I tried to do other things. I tried to more mingle with the guys a little bit. What I could. Of course, you got your duties. Make sure things are taken care of. Security's on board, and can't have anything happen to anybody. But I try to be around the guys and hang out with them as much as possible and get to know them because that's really what it's about. And that was the one thing about the charter as in they wanted you to go hang out with the other guys. And sometimes they didn't even want you to they didn't even do it you on the weekends when there wasn't a run. They'd be like, go find another charter to go hang out with. Take off and go bounce around and it was a good time actually.
Did you ever meet anybody that you didn't like when you were hanging out with these different charters?
Oh yeah, there's always some guys you don't like, you know. That's nature, human nature, you're not gonna get along with everybody. Some guys and some of those guys in the club, they won't even talk to you until you're a 5-year member. They're just it's not just because they're too good for you or because they're arrogant. I guess they just see the turnover. They don't want to get close to someone, and they know they're going to wind up quitting in a year or two or three.
So when you're prospecting, is there any other situations that stand out to you or any red flags?
Hmm. I think we talked about this on the phone. I'm drawing a blank, but yeah, I know I mean, a lot of it is more with the cops coming after you than the guys is for me, you know. I mean, the guys, they want to butt check you here and there, and you just stand up to them, stand your ground. They're just making sure you're going to handle your business, Even one or two little fisticuffs, usually like none of mine got too bad. I mean, I'm a pretty big guy, I can handle myself well. I'm good enough for me, So
Yeah.
they got into it as one or two blows and then they get breaking up. It's just mud checking, you know. I still do have a loose tooth here, you know. Um, I remember I guess I went in the room one day and there's an issue and I guess, I did something that maybe wasn't the best decision as a prospect and my sponsor stands up and he's big of me or bigger to me and he's trying to tell me what I did wrong. I'm like, yeah. Oh, he's like, well, we're gonna have to take your cut for punishment, for 30 days. I said, oh hell no. And I hold on. I said, no, you ain't taking it. He's like, yeah. I said, if we got a box, we got it. As soon as tried to say the second time, I'm already getting whacked in the mouth, And then it goes on a couple blows back and forth, and then they break it up, and then they all said, no, really, it is a punishment. You got to do it. And, so then what happens? Then you're stuck out at some events or whatever. And then everybody knows your prospect, but now you're under punishment because you're not wearing your cut, and that's learned, I guess. And I still don't think I was in the wrong, but it wasn't my decision.
And does that happen to a lot of people where they take their cuts and
It happened to one other guy in my charter that I know of. I remember seeing, I think one other guy, I forget where he was from, up north somewhere. It happened to him, but I don't think it's super common.
they can do that to a full patch member too, right? Take their cut and put it in a box or something like that.
I've heard that they've done that to people, but I never saw it happen personally. I never saw it happen. I was probably in member for about 5 years, and then prospecting that whole time and hanging around and all that stuff. So I've heard they've done it to people, but I've never seen it happen to anybody.
Walk me through the day they give you your patch, your full patch.
A full patch? Well, of course they don't tell you they're giving you a full patch, you know. And like what we all thought that we were going to make it all as a group because that was the goal. And lo and behold, one of the other guys that he made it for the first. Well, there's a guy that was with our group. He was Red Devils and switched over with us, and we thought he was going to be a number one guy. Man, he was on top of his stuff. He was everywhere. He handled everything. When it happened, and we thought he was getting his year in, and that's it. He's gone. He's in. He's first one in, and then he gets hooked on some stuff. Those pills. Was OxyContin. He gets hooked on, and he just downhill real quick, and it got bad. And I actually thought this was a good thing. Like as a charter, we all stood in. We kind of had an intervention with him. Like, dude, like all us prospects, like, dude, the hell happened to you? You're screwing up. What's wrong? And then he almost burst out into tears, and he told us what's going on. And then he just wound up going down the road. He just couldn't get out of it. And then the other guy made it, and then I think it was about 15 months or so. I finally got mine in, but they call you in and they stare at you, and look at you like, what you been doing? Acting like you did something wrong again, It's like you start going, and then like you're getting ready to fight, and then they're like, here you go. And you get this big smile, this big relief comes over you, Then they're all hugging you, and then you get to sew it on again, and then you can the other prospects and tell them, and then you start making your phone calls to all the other guys that you've been prospecting with this whole time. And
when you make member, there's still people you were prospecting with that are still prospects, right?
Yeah. Because I think our choices, the way we went prospecting, might have been good and bad. I mean, we thought we were going to do the whole group thing, and then it turned out the way we did it, they just did it an individual way and stuff. And that's probably better for them on their end too, because they weeded a couple more guys out that way that just turned into pieces of crap.
I mean, look what happened. The guy that you thought was going to get it first ends up not getting it at all.
Yeah, didn't get it.
So things change, right?
Yeah.
So what happens after you get your patch? How did your night go?
Oh, we just partied. I mean, I don't even really remember. You got to do the old ritual, but we just partied, and I don't even remember where we went. We were in Long Beach somewhere at one of the guys' house. I think maybe I don't even remember. I honestly don't even remember that night. I just remember making that patch, and we partied, and I think probably till 7 a.m. I came home and had to go to work, and it was rough, but it was a good time.
When you're prospecting, you're not allowed in the meetings at all. You have to stay outside the meeting, right?
Only if they call you in for an issue or a reason or something. But yeah, otherwise you're outside.
So what's it like the first time you get to walk into a meeting?
It's a good feeling. It's a good feeling, because you're like, man, yeah, I'm the man now, And when you put that full patch on, I mean, you feel like Superman. You feel like you're unstoppable, like nothing can hurt you. That's the feeling you get. It's like just put it on, and you're just like, yeah,
And when you go out, people look at you a lot different. Do you feel that?
Yeah, absolutely. Some respect you a lot more, and some hate you a lot more. And where I was at, I was in Southern California there, and that was I guess the rebirth of the war with the Mongols. After the Laughlin incident, and it was the middle of it was the heat of the battle. So, and that's where they were deep. Mooch tells you that's where they all were. He was way up north, and he's always going down there. So like we're in the middle of all time. So you're always looking over your shoulder, and you don't just have those guys to look out for. You got the little gangbangers that might be associated, or just little gangbangers that are trying to make a name for themselves by like, hey, look who I could take out, and then you get the cops. You never know. You get some cops, and the cops crap. cops harassed the hell out of us, especially, me in the neighborhood there where I was at.
They would pull you over all the time and things.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I'd be driving down the freeway and like right, because we were new members there. Like Red Devils was bad enough, but when you're put on that Hell's Angel patch, it's way worse. You draw so much attention. Every time I'd be coming home and they'd be following me, and I'm not. I know they're following me, so I'm just cruising 65. I'm waiting my turn, get off the exit, and then as soon as I get my shot, I lived in like a gated a community, so I would hit that button to open that gate as soon as possible, and because before so it starts closing, and I zip through, and then they get stuck outside, so they wanted to know where my place was, So I'd
Yeah.
always go back and try to hide, and then until they could get in. And one night I went put my motorcycle in someone else's parking spot that was open just because I had to get in and get out. A couple nights later, and I had a roommate at the time. We're in there. It's like 3, 4 in the morning, and you hear this boom, 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 boom on the door. My roommate gets up. He was down and he was closest to the door, and he gets up. He's all pissed off. He's got to get up for work for 6. He rips open the door. Who the hell is this? And there's a local cop there, looking for someone's car that had a broken window. And that car, he's like, "Is this your car here in this spot number?" And he's like, "No, that ain't our spot." Well, that's the spot I parked my motorcycle in the other night when they tried to chase me in. So they were watching. Another incident, we're coming home from church. I'm just cruising. I knew they were following me all the time, so I try not to do anything stupid. And I see these 2 cars behind me. They didn't have bubbles on them or nothing. They were unmarked. And there's one going this way, one going that way, and they're coming up and then drifting back, turn their headlights off. I'm like, so I'm thinking it's one of the other guys.
Yeah, like they're gonna kill you or something, right?
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking. I'm waiting for something to come out the window, so I start making some little evasive maneuvers. And the next thing you know, I was like, son of a. So they pull me over. And I'm like, what are you pulling me over for? Or say, well, you're under suspicion of DUI for your swerving. I'm like, I'm under suspicion. What were you guys just doing to me? Well, you
Yeah.
can't argue with them, on the side of the road like that. So they want to do the DUI check on me. Like, do you have anything wrong with you that might inhibit you from passing? I said, yeah. I said my leg was banged up from an accident. I might stumble around a little bit if you make me do some of those things, but everything else I'd be good.
You're not a felon. You never been to prison.
No, no. So they got arrested one time, and that was with the club, and nothing ever. We can talk about that later if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. No record like that, nothing. So they were just pissed off that we were in town, and I'm doing this sobriety check, and I got my head back, eyes closed, and he's flashing the flashlight across your eyes to try to make you dizzy.
Yeah.
And then I can hear them. They're going through my damn saddlebags looking for shit. I can hear them doing it, but that's why they're doing that, so they can try to take quick peeks. And then finally they let me there. All right, you're good. Go on your way. And we had another one in that town. There was some big event. I don't know. It might have been a funeral or something. Another team's funeral or something. We were up at a bar and we stopped by. A bunch of those guys were there, and it wasn't the Mongols. It was whatever team they were, and we weren't like at war with them, but it wasn't good or bad. It's just kind of like, if you see them, you can say hi if you want to. Well, I didn't like those guys really, and I'm not even sure why. But so a couple of them tried to come over and shake my hand, and I had there's some little kid that was trying to hang around the club with me. He was there with me, just me and him. I figured I'm gonna stop by and pay respect to this one other guy from this other club because they were decent dudes, but these other guys were there, and they tried to come over. They did the right thing, trying to introduce themselves, and I just I ignored them, and I didn't even put my hand out. I turned back and walked away from them. And the kids were just looking at me like, "Oh, I can't believe you just did that." And we walked away and then went about our business. We go down to the next club. It was Angels Sports Bar and Strip Club. It was like a sports bar on one side and a strip club on the other side. And actually, sports bar side was actually featured in that bar show with that John Tapper guy that yells at all the bar owners.
Yeah. Yeah. Bar rescue.
Bar rescue. I think she was the very first bar on that show, and then she made some appearances in the show. And she was crazy. She'd sit there and do shots with you. We come in there, and she'd be like, "Hey, let's do shots," and we'd do 3 or 4 shots with her, and she'd be dancing around and stuff. But I hung out on the strip club side most of the time, you know.
Yeah.
You know, so and it was good. The security manager there, he used to work at the one other bar that's not there anymore. That's torn down too. Is at Crossroads something or other. There's a huge concert bar. Like the Purdue guys always had their runs out there. It's huge, hold thousands of people. It's kind of like full throttle almost. So we're all there, and then it was me and that hang around kid. And he wasn't really a tough kid, but he was trying to be around, and so I was trying to work with him and see what he wants to do. And there's probably about 5 or 6 members of those other guys there. I think 1 or 2 prospects and maybe another 1 or 2 other guys that were with them. So there's probably like 8, 9 of them total. I'm just sitting there having beer like normal. I'm watching the girls, and I actually made friends with the one server there, and she was real cool. She invited me. She married her DJ, and she invited me to the wedding and everything. But we're sitting there, and prospect from the other guys comes over, and he's like, "Hey, I'm so and so, and my president over there, he I'd like to talk with you." I'm like, "For what?" He goes, "I don't know, man." He goes, I'm the messenger." I was like, "All right, well, I don't want to see anything bad happen to this kid because he's doing whatever." So I was like, walk over there. I'm like, "Hey, what's up?" I sit down. And he's like, "Oh, I'm so and so, president, whatever, chapter, whatever." And I'm like, "All right, what's going on?" And I said, "I'm just trying to have a beer. What are you guys doing?" He's like, "Yeah, we're just hanging out." And he goes, I noticed there's we got the power in here." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, there's like 8 of us and just the 2 of you." I'm like, "Oh, so it's gonna be like that?" I said, "If it's gonna be like that, we can do this right now." And he said, "Oh, no, no." Typical guy trying to do his mud check because he thinks I'm gonna. What does he think I'm gonna say? I'm his angel. I don't know if I can say that. I'm sorry, but like, no, this ain't that. If you want to do this, this is gonna happen right now. And then he's like, "Oh, no, 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 no. Let me buy you a beer and let's just chat and talk and get to know each other a little bit." I'm like, "Yeah, I could do that, And then we start chatting a little bit. Well, in the meantime, I guess the cops get word that something might be going down. Those guys all leave. I'm still sitting there with this kid that's trying to be a hang around. Next thing you know, a security manager comes out. He's like, "Hey," and he's like, I got to tell you this." He goes, because 2 of the cops came in and they went back to his office, and then they leave. So he comes up and he's like, "Hey, I just want to let you know, they got the building surrounded. They're waiting for you to leave." I was like, "Really?" I was like, "All right." Nothing happened. We didn't do nothing. But
Yeah.
drinking. So I was like, "Oh, I'm glad he told me." So I called up the one prospect that lived real close by, and he was with me earlier. I told him just go home, get some rest because they don't get rest. I was only 5 minutes from home, so I call him up and I'm like, "Hey, man, I need you to come get me." He's like, "What's up?" I told him.
Car,
Like,
yeah. I'm in a
yeah.
car, right?
So he comes over, with the car, picks me up, and going back to his place. And there's probably 6, 7, 8 squad cars out there for no reason. No reason at all. Well, the reason is because they still haven't caught me yet, I think. But we start going. Same bullshit, same bull. They're coming up, their headlights off, coming up beside you. Another one goes up flying past you, goes up around the next corner, shoots down the next corner at the stop sign, waiting for you to go by, and they're just playing these like Mickey Mouse games. Like, whatever. So we go and we stop at his house and we get out of the car, and there's like 4 cars like all around us. So I get out of the car. I'm like, I'm gonna go ask them what their deal is. So I start walking. I get out of the car and I start walking over casually. And next thing you know, it like 4 more cars come screeching in. Guys coming out. They're going, "Stop right there! Stop right there!" And I'm like, "I just don't know what the hell you guys are doing. Why are you following me? Why are you harassing me?" And they have us over there. "Get on the ground." I said, "I ain't getting on the ground. I ain't doing nothing." I said, "You want to talk? You talk." And they're just going off. They're talking all kinds of stuff. "We know what you did," and I'm like, "We didn't do nothing. Did nothing happen? We didn't do nothing. What do you want?" They started saying some like they wanted it to happen. And then
Yeah.
one guy, the dog used me. "I might just release the dog on you." I said, go ahead. I didn't do nothing. I'm sure there's cameras somewhere. They'll see what happened. And then I start going on. I'm like, "I want your badge number, your badge number, your badge number." I said, "You guys are gonna be in trouble." And they're like, "What, do you threaten me? You threaten me?" Because they're taking that as like some physical threat. I'm like, "No." I said, "Just give me that." And they wouldn't do that. I said, and then like the sergeant comes down. They get the sergeant down, and he comes over and cools things down. And This is the one little punk young cop, new young cop, a little steroid freak guy, and he was the one like really getting at it. Like he had that roid rage probably, and was hoping something would happen because there's six or eight. Well, there's probably about 12 of them, and then just the three of us. And so the sergeant comes over and he calms them down and he pulls me aside and he's like, "What's going on?" I said, "I have no idea, man." I said, "We're just minding our own business and they're harassing us as usual." And I said, "We're home. We're here. This is where we're staying. We ain't going nowhere. We ain't causing no problems." And he's like, "All right, all right." And then he gets them to leave, and then we went in, and so I contacted the attorney the next day and said, "Hey, this happened." I said, "This is like an ongoing issue. Like he knows he's been documenting all this stuff that's happening." So he's like, "Do me a favor, get on the police station, get me an incident report from that night. They got to have something." So I go down there because he wanted to get all their names. I go down to the police station. They have no record of anything at all happening. Like you're telling me you got like 10, 8, 10, 12 cops and 6 squad cars at a major intersection at 3 in the morning, and you don't have a record that they would responded to a call, you know? So he wound up putting a cease and desist order on the whole city police department that they couldn't basically touch me. I mean, I kind of had a free pass for a little while, so I could zip through town easily.
But they still harass you, right? You still see them around, and
Yeah, I mean, after that, I didn't see him for a while after that. I didn't see him for a while after that. And it was, I mean, my town was in the county, but it wasn't where our clubhouse was. Yeah, that's the, the first big event we had when we, as our side there, had a poker run or fundraiser, and we were doing the local SPCA, burnt down, and they were begging for help, begging for money, and people weren't really helping them. So we're like, "Oh, we're going to throw a fundraiser. We're going to raise a couple $1,000s for this place, help them
yeah,
rebuild." So, we have this big place, and because we're new in town, there was a ton of people there. I mean, I couldn't believe the turnout we had. Everybody had a great time. People from all over, well, the sheriffs and local PD and all that, they have their little mobile, jailhouse stations, and they just were pulling everybody over and looking for DUIs and running for felons and stuff like that, and just targeting all our people that were coming to have a good time and help try to raise money for the SPCA. And then all said and done, and the bar was only, I mean, it was like 1.2 miles from our clubhouse, probably. So we didn't have far to go. You know,
yeah.
we're all riding, we're all on Harleys, no super fast sport bikes, But the end of the event, we're closing up. So the six of us, there's like six of us left there, and we all take off to go down to the clubhouse. As soon as we pull out, like, what the hell? We didn't even do nothing. All we did was pull on the street. Nobody did a burnout. We were just going down to the clubhouse to have a good time with everybody else that came into town.
Yeah.
And we got in our gate, uh, our prospects and stuff. They didn't get the gate closed fast enough. So cops got in, and they're all sitting there. They all got like M16s drawn on us, lasers pointed at our heads, dogs barking, a helicopter flying around. And like, what the hell? So they jam us all up, and then they take us in for the night for nothing. They just made up charges.
They
I,
took
I
you to the police department.
you know,
They handcuffed all you guys and took you in.
gets in, and then and two of our old ladies went too, because they were passengers on the bike, so they all went in. Yeah, so they cuffed us right there and took us in. It was like we ain't do nothing. They're just they hated us there. So we
That's
spent the night in jail there, and there's two other guys. Well, my old lady at the time, she was scared to death, I think, because I don't think anything like that's ever happened to her. Now I felt bad for the other guy's wife because she had to sit in the jail cell all alone all night. But my old lady at the time, she had this weird thing, and I guess I didn't see it, but she got nervous and she couldn't talk, and she was like doing like sign language type stuff. I didn't know all this was going on. They told me, hey, the rest of us are in the little trailer there getting arrested, fingerprinted, pictures, mugshot, all that kind of crap before they take us over to the county jail. And the one cop comes in, he goes, whose wife is deaf? And I was sitting next to the other guy that his old lady was getting there. He looked at me. I said, that's mine. I just knew. And he looked at me and he's like, she's deaf? I said, I'll tell you later. He goes, I didn't know she's deaf. They know this girl for a couple years.
Yeah.
Then they let me. Luckily, they let me give her my phone, so she had contacts to start making phone calls and stuff, get us bailed out in the morning. But
What
then,
did they book you on?
well, they called evading high speed pursuit, whatever it is. Then I guess they found some pill like a Vicodin in somebody's pocket or something like that. So there was a drug charge on him, and some of the guys were looking at like 10, 12 years for nothing. And I was looking I was looking at 6 years. I I didn't even have an aspirin on me or nothing. None of us were drinking because we knew they were there. We were going to wait till we get to the clubhouse to party. And yeah, that's what they did. That the local guy there in that county, he had a hard on for us, man. I mean, you're getting speeding tickets all the time. I had a stack of them from
Yeah,
everywhere.
but you guys didn't do what they said you were doing. So
No, but it doesn't matter. We went to the bail bondsman the next day or whatever, and I thought we were talking to him like, yeah, I said they'll charge you with whatever they want within reason, and then they just stack up them charges and hope that something can stick. But we all waited for that year or whatever, 2 years, and they never filed charges. They're just screwing us. Then it's not just that. You spend the night in jail or whatever, no big deal, but you got to go get your bike impound. There's another couple $100. Your bail, and then all the damage they did to your bike because they don't like tow it nicely. They just drag it, and it
and
just
I'm sure they write a nice newspaper article about it, right?
yeah, yeah.
Those
So,
angels busted. High speed
oh,
chase.
I'm sure there was, but
Yeah,
it's crazy, crazy
I'll
how
find it. I'll find the article. What year was this?
uh, probably around 2005, 2005, 2006. Would have happened in Lake Elsinore, California. Well, we were in jail that night. They put us all together. I think they wanted to hear us talking, and we're just shooting, laughing, and telling jokes the whole time. We were having a good time. Just the six of us or whatever in there, and we started getting bored. No, there's two other guys that we saw at the run that we saw they were in the cell across. We start banging on the door to get the guard. Hey, guard, go get those two guys over here, and he did. He brought those two guys over ourselves. Like, how do you know what we were gonna do with them? You know what I mean? Like, they might have been so many, but we just wanted to talk to them and find out from them what happened to them and stuff like that. And I was like, I had a guard over. Oh yeah, okay. He goes gets him, brings him in. He probably thought we were gonna beat the hell out of him or something, so they could get us on something else. But
Yeah.
it's ridiculous.
You never been really to prison or anything like that. Did
No.
you did you ever get a carry and conceal permit?
Yeah. Yeah.
And did the cops mess with you because of that?
Well, out there in California, it's near impossible to get one of those. I have it where I'm at now. I can't say whether I did or didn't carry anything with me, you know what I mean? But you got to be
But
ready.
still, with the cops on you that much, it's kind of like, damn.
It's tough, you got to, and they were strict. They were more strict, I think, with pocket knives. Carrying a switchblade is a felony as opposed to carrying a loaded gun was only a misdemeanor.
What? That's
Doesn't make
crazy.
sense.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. During your time as a Hell's Angel, did you have any run-ins with the opposition, like with the Mongols?
Like during that time, I mean, I can't say for sure because I wasn't on that side. I mean, but I mean, I never saw somebody wear a patch. I mean, not for the Mongols. I mean, there's other guys from some of the other teams or something like they run around, but said we weren't really at war with them for the most part. I mean, there's some scuffles here and there, but like it wasn't like anything major. But yeah, and I never saw a Mongol patch until just like in person, just until a couple of years ago, and I was out in Colorado working. Never seen an outlaw patch in person, but all the other clubs I see them, and
like there's a lot of Vagos out there in California, right? Have you run into them?
Yeah, Southern Cal, yeah, all California, Arizona, Nevada now, and yeah,
There's a
they're
lot of
yeah,
different clubs out there.
yeah, yeah. I think they're even like up in New York area at least, or something like that.
Yeah, I've never seen one. Not on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever have any big fights in bars and things like that with anybody?
Oh, I mean, you got your people, you know. I mean, there's a few. We had I mean, different guys, different times, you know. But I remember one time we were out, probably 5 or 6 or 7 of us out, just having a good time. And one of the guys in the club, he went to high school with the lead singer from a band called TSOL, True Sounds Liberty. They're like a punk band. I don't know if you ever heard them, if you're into that stuff or whatever. But
I
they
think
were playing at the bar. You know, we're all out down there, and I don't know. Sometimes people just don't like you because you're wearing a patch, you know. And this one guy went up to hit one of our prospects. I was a member at the time, and he went up to hit like I think somebody. He went to do something. Somebody pushed him, and then he turned around to clock one of our prospects. I stepped in. I laid him right out. Like I didn't know how hard I hit. I just was. I'm not gonna let you do that to my guys, you know. And
yeah,
because I didn't even know it was gonna happen. He was like with somebody else watching, you know, doing whatever. So he was doing the right thing on his side, but like so he didn't even know it was gonna happen. So I just I didn't know how bad it was, like how bad I hit this guy until one of the other members was telling me the story because like he saw it from the perspective. He goes, I never seen anybody. He said it was just like in the movies. There, he said that guy flew up on the table. He said his feet flew up in the air and he just went flying across the table. You know, I just nailed it. And then you know you got to gather up the guys. Now you got to leave the bar. You know, you're sitting there having a good time. You know, it sucks.
tell me when you first met Pee Wee.
Oh God, I don't know if I remember the exact first time. It may have been a Frisco thing or maybe a South Run, North Run thing, or I can't remember exactly the first time I met Pee Wee, but man, I love that dude instantly.
Yeah,
That dude is such a good dude. I'm so glad I reconnected with him because it's been years. I mean, it's years. It's 15 years or more probably.
yeah, he is
But
a great guy.
yeah, I remember. I'll never forget. He walked around. He's a big dude. Like I don't know if you've seen him when he was younger back in the day when he was in the club. Like he was like 400 pounds. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm 6'3". He's like 6'6". And but he would walk up and he had this big belly, you know, but it was like a solid big belly. It wasn't like he was no slob or slouch, you know. He was a stud. And he would just walk up if someone irritate him, he'd just give him a little belly buck. He'd just turn and that you go flying 4 or 5 feet out of the way, and they'd be, oh yeah, oh man, that's such a good dude.
Sonny Barger. You met him before, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, of course, everybody meets him at his book signings and stuff like that. But I do got a little funny story. We were at I think it was Paw Rump. We were doing one of our runs out there. That's like in the middle of the Nevada desert somewhere. Our charter was always responsible for making sure security was details were accounted for because on the big runs, all the charters pitched in, and you know, it wasn't just prospects do it; members would do along with the prospects and stuff. And I know there is charter out there at Cave Creek. You get to the run and you sign up for the times you want your guys to do it. All the best time to get picked right away. So if your charter is late, you're kind of screwed. You're doing like the last shift, early morning that last day. And I knew something was going on that they needed to get back for something. So I already arranged for his charter. I talked to somebody else and they switched them. So it already happened. He didn't know it. And he came over and I go over to Sonny. I'm like, hey, dude, I said, you guys got to get over there and do security. And he's like, what do you mean we got no security? I said, you're signed up. Your guys came in. You signed up for security this time. That's what bullshit. He's going off. He's looking at all his veins are popping out his head. I said, so I start laughing. He's like, what's so funny? I put my arm around Sonny, man. I said, I'm just busting your balls. I said, I already got it straightened out. You guys did your security last night. You're good to go, man. Fuck you.
It's hilarious. What's your perspective on Sons of Anarchy coming out? Do you think it hurt the club or helped?
What do I think about the show?
Yeah.
I mean, it was entertaining. Was it realistic? Some incidences, but they got to glorify that stuff for TV. I mean, you're not blowing up clubhouses and businesses and having shootouts in the streets every other week.
No.
And another funny thing is, a lot of guys in the club were in that show. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
guys, especially the guys,
Sonny,
especially the guys from
Sonny
Oakland.
was in it.
Oh yeah, Sonny, yeah. But a lot of the guys from Oakland were in it because one of the guys that was one of the main characters that became a main character. He was a behind the scenes guy, and then he became a main character. And then I was happy his name was on the show. I
Yeah.
don't want to say his real name, but everybody can figure it out or probably knows that watched it anyway. But
I don't
you know,
believe he's in the club anymore, is he?
no, he's not. Yeah, yeah. And I actually prospected a lot with him probably for almost a year. I made member before he did. So I remember when he made member, I remember getting that phone call from him because we all call each other and like, hey, I made it. And you're like, yeah, bro, yeah, and they're all
Yeah.
excited. I remember getting that phone call from him and I was proud of him.
Your time riding with these guys, has there been a lot of crashes?
Oh yeah. I mean, there's people died, there's one of the guys coming home from a run up Northern California. You don't think about California and snow and ice or nothing. I wasn't there for it. This guy's coming home and tractor trailer, some truck had a big sheet of like ice on the top of it, flew off, hit him on the bike, killed him instantly. You go to funerals all the time, all the time. I had a crash or two, the funny one. Here I am. I think I was a prospect at the time, maybe. I don't remember. I was going on my way to church. Yeah, Southern California traffic sometimes is just, you ain't moving. And yeah, it's legal to split lanes out there, but there's still limits you're supposed to do no more than so many miles per hour or whatever. Well, you're a prospect for the club and you don't want to be late. Yeah, you'll pay a fine, but there's going to be other consequences probably too. And you don't
Yeah.
want to find out what those consequences are. So I'm hauling ass. I mean, traffic's moving 10, 15 miles an hour. I'm just hauling ass. I'm like, I got to get there. I got to get there. Well, someone swerves over. I locked it up. I scared the crap out of me. Nothing happened. I was like, you know what? My life ain't worth it. I'll just deal with it. So I find over. I pull into the little side area where I could squeeze in between some cars, and I'm just like, I'll just go with the flow for now, and I'll be all right. 5 minutes down the road, all of a sudden, I get some little beater car comes up, wham, right into my, knocks me out. I go flying down. I bolt off to the side of in the median there. I'm laying there holding my leg, and I'm like, holy shit, that hurt. And
Yeah.
some car behind us stopped, and the person that hit me stopped, and I'm laying there holding my leg, and some lady comes up to me, grab my leg. Are you okay? Are you okay? I'm like, I don't know. It hurts. And then the lady walks away, and then some other guy's there, and he's like, "Hey, I saw the whole thing." I'm like, "Yeah, whatever." I said, "Just, can you get the bike up for me?" And then people are like, "Yeah, you want to call the cops or that?" No, no, no. I just get the bike up for me. I think I can ride down, and I could barely stand up. While this dude comes back. He's talking to me, and I'm still laying there trying to whatever. And he's like, "Hey, are you okay? I'm the one that hit you." I said, well, "What happened to that lady?" You know? And the other
Yeah.
guy looked at me and he just starts shaking his head. Well, here it is. This dude or lady that hit me was a dude, but now had big old energy. You know, and the dude still looked like Larry and Moe combination from the Three Stooges, but with these big old tits.
What do you do? Whip the rig off? What do you have, a wig on?
I don't know if it's a wig or not, but I mean, he was fugly, and so I'm sitting there. So I finally helped get me up, and I'm like, "Hey, man," I said, "I want to get your insurance information, get your name, and here I think I'm talking to the dude, but the dude has boobs, and I'm like, this is weird, you know. This is the first time, and this was before it was cool to do that, you know.
Yeah.
And he's like, I won't say the full name, but I was like, and he's like, in a deep man voice, like, my name's Catherine. I'm like, huh? And he's like, yeah. I said, well, let me see her. It was on his ID. That was his name or her name, whatever she went by. And like, I'm like, holy crap. And he's like, yeah. He's telling me the story. He just in the middle of this transition. He just literally got this done like a week prior. The car he just bought off of somebody up in Oxnard, I think, is where it was. So he gives me the insurance information, but it was their information because he didn't have all his stuff yet because he literally just bought the car like the day or two before from him. And so I was like, all right, thanks, man. And the ambulance shows up and they're like, hey, everything okay? Should we call the cops? No, we're good. I get on my bike, the handlebars are all crooked. I'm not praying to God it starts because if it don't start, they're calling the cops. So I started up, and in the meantime, I had to call in to the guys down there. So they brought a pickup truck, and they're waiting down the next exit for me. So I start up, the bike's sideways. I'm like holding it like this, shaking, and they're just waiting for me to probably fall over. And then we get over and load the bike up. Then I go back up. I track down the place that the people that sold them the car, drive all the way up to Oxnard. It's like probably about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour past Ventura. So it was a good haul for me. It's like a 2.5 hour drive. And I go knock on his door and I tell these people, and this guy answered the door. I said, hey, I said, the vehicle that you sold this person was involved in an accident. He hit me yesterday. I said, I understand you're not liable, but I'm trying to see if I can get something out of their insurance. And he's like, really? I said, yeah. And I gave him, told him the name and this and that. And I started telling the guy the story. And his son comes out. He overhears this. His son comes out. He's like, I knew something was effed up about that guy. I knew because they didn't even know he had the boob job and done all that yet. It's like they didn't see that yet. Like it literally just happened. I get it. This dude, girl, whatever you call it, is like was in a halfway house right across the street from them and was moving down to San Diego to try to start a new life. And it was hilarious.
Started off pretty good, huh?
Yeah.
You've been all over the country as a Hell's Angel, right? What's it like to go onto the East Coast? And can you tell me about when you got your Philly side robber?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, well, obviously that's the area I'm from, so I would go back to visit. But one of the things, one of my last things as a prospect, because I wasn't from out there west. So when you join something like that, they do a full on like private investigation, background check on you. So it's hard to do it from people out of state, especially across the country. So one of the last things is they needed to meet some of my family and friends and this and that. And then there was a funeral. Tommy. He was killed or whatever happened to him, and there was that funeral. So we all send every charter send somebody out of respect, and so the one guy was going, and they said, well, you got to go. That's where you're from. I said, yeah, no problem. So I jump in the car, and like the whole plan I had all set up. I was going to rent a car and take them up to see my family and some friends and stuff like that. And so I lived about an hour and 20 minutes probably from Philly, and get there, and it turned out to be a snowstorm. Roads were shut down, like you couldn't go anywhere. I'm like, oh my god! So I came all the way out here. Well, of course, for the funeral and pay respects, but now I can't like fulfill the requirement that they wanted. He wanted to meet my family and stuff like that. Well, luckily I got my best friend I grew up with lived only right across the bridge in New Jersey. So I went to there was a guy from Denver charter that I prospected with, but he had just been a member. He had a car. I said, dude, I need to borrow your car, man. I told him, he's like, yeah, hell yeah. Throws me the keys. And, so I got these two guys from Southern California that really never even seen snow, let alone like 2 feet of it, and roads shut down. There's cars off the sides of roads because they, just can't drive. And so I kind of miss driving in that stuff. So I get the car. I'm getting this car sideways. And the member that was with me, he was a nut. Like he loved all that crazy. Like he's sticking his head out the window. Yeah, the snow and blizzard sideways. The other guy, he's a little Mexican guy or whatever, and he was a prospect too. He came with, and his face was white. He was like a ghost sitting in the back, almost ready to puke as I'm flying down the road. And then, we make it to my buddy's house, and we just have a good time. And we started watching some old videos of me and him and some friends and stuff like that. And I guess that fulfilled that requirement. And then we go back to the bars, over by the clubhouse, and we actually, like, the member I was with, he liked to smoke. He was a big pothead. So
Yeah.
now I got to find him. And it wasn't legal in PA back then. I don't even know if it is yet now. So I'm like, now I got to find some pot. Well, I start talking to these couple frat kids, and they're like, they got a keg of beer, and they're like, hey man, you guys want to come back and party with us? I'm like, yeah, somebody got some smoke. And he's like, yeah, back there. I was like, hey, let's go. We're going with these guys. So we went and party with this fraternity, and they were just stoked. Like, they're like, yeah, we're partying with Hells Angels, and we just had a good time. And then it was a week later is when I got my patch, full patch.
When you went to Tommy's funeral, it was really cold that day, right?
Oh yeah, it's cold. Like I said, it's a blizzard.
Did you meet Repo?
I met all the guys. I mean, after I made member, I came back because, like, they didn't know it at the time. I was starting to think, man, because I've been thinking about moving back home for a couple of years. I was like, but there was nowhere to move to. We didn't have a charter there yet, but that they started that. So I came home one or two times, and I was actually at their church. That's how I reminded Repo who I was. So we knew each other and stuff. But I said, hey, remember, I said, that one church, I said, when you guys first got your side rockers, your Philly side rockers, I was at that church. He's like, oh yeah. So they're sitting there talking, they're going around. Their president or vice president opens up the pack and says, hey, side rockers. He's like, who didn't get one? So I raised my hand, I was only kidding. He's like, oh, here you go. I was like, cool, man. So it was like,
What did your guys think when you went back to the West Coast with a Philly side rocker? What did they think of it?
I don't care. You can wear whatever you want. I mean, well, to an extent, because actually our side rockers for our side, Riverside County was a chapter, but we shortened it to our side, and it's been changed. It was like a R, and then like an apostrophe, but it's like a small lightning bolt, and then the S was a big lightning bolt, and then IDE. So it was like our side. So technically, they weren't lightning bolts. You know what I mean? Like two of the same size together. And we had one of the German brothers approve it, because he did those studies. And, because they have issues over there. You can't wear certain things. Their government, doesn't allow them to wear any like swastikas and stuff like that, and the lightning bolts and stuff. So our side rocker was short lived.
Oh, so now they took that out.
The apostrophes now, I think, is just an apostrophe and not the little lightning bolt apostrophe like we had.
That's crazy. And so it dictates from another country on what happens here.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, it's all about. I mean, they vote on everything. That's something that, when you make memory, you realize how not fun it can be with all that politics. They vote on everything, but what are you gonna do? I mean, I don't see why we should not be allowed to wear it over here. I'd say if we're going to Germany, don't wear it for their sake or your sake, because you'll get arrested for wearing it over there.
So what's it like to deal with these different personalities in the club?
It's like dealing with different personalities at a job, even, or when you're going through school, you kind of learn who you can trust and who to avoid and who you love hanging out with, and you get some of those guys, and they go to some of them parties and they get all hopped up on them big balloons and stuff. I know you've heard about that. I'm sure you'll.
Yeah.
Some of those charters were crazy with that, and others said, "I'll never forget. I did this. I just remembered this. You remember those when you were a little kid? They had those big animals, the little animals. And you blow them up to a big balloon, but it's like a giraffe or elephant, and then so it has like legs and a trunk sticking out, but it's still a big balloon." I took one of them to one of the parties to get filled up. I'm here sitting there huffing out of like a big giant elephant.
All that is nitrous, right? It's nitrous.
Yeah.
I remember doing that in high school with the cracker and all that.
Like I did it a couple times and I didn't like it. And you hit that in your head just like, and like yeah, why do you like this? But they sit there and just do it all night long. Some of those guys.
Members are doing that.
Oh yeah, and then some. I mean, you just go to the show, like some of the events, and they'll be selling selling them off. Like, hey, so anybody that's at the party can, hey, here's $5, give me a balloon. Like crazy. Like
That's crazy because you would think that it would be a reputation thing because you wouldn't want to see a member holding a balloon doing that shit, right?
they do it. I'm sure. I'm sure you've seen it. Yeah, it's just, some of the guys loved it.
Yeah, that's crazy. So, what's it like to ride in formation with your brother?
Oh wow. Well, like I said, when I first seen those guys, some of the guys out there, the way they rode, and I wanted to learn to ride like that, and you don't have a choice. You got to ride like that when you're in the guys, and there's your minimum 85 miles per hour, minimum. That's it. That's cruising speed is 85 miles per hour, no matter what. And you're nuts to butts. I mean, you're right on each other's ass, and you don't you got to be able to react. And whoever's like, I'll never forget the first time in the pack, and like like when you're a prospect, because you're in the back, so you don't know what's really going on up front. You see everybody going, so you have a little bit of time to react. But when you're like that guy next to the leader or right behind them, and you're going 85, 90 miles an hour, and then there's your exit 10 feet away, and they go, you got to get over instantly, and it's crazy, like, but you get so used to it, it's normal then. It's normal.
And did you see any crazy things happen while you're riding with the back?
Oh yeah, I remember one time we were going on a trip up north, and it was I think I don't know, Freeway 5 maybe, and traffic was bad. Well, here's this pack, there's probably about 30 or 40 of us going, and when you see a pack of Hell's Angels going by, people are gonna want to look. Next thing you know, right next to me, cars, because they're just staring at us and not paying attention to stop traffic. You see like three of them smash into each other. You're like, these guys, and luckily they didn't cut into the pack or nothing.
You guys are just hauling ass, right?
Oh yeah, you're just it's just yeah, it's nuts. You go back and think about it now. It's like ride like that, like whew.
As your time goes on, how do you end up parting ways from the club?
Well, that's a funny thing is I wound up taking a job overseas, and it was like I was just getting into the industry I'm at now. It was like my maybe third job. The other two or three were like local there, so it was no big deal. So I basically had to go and ask permission. Hey, I want to take this opportunity. And I'm gonna have to be away for a month or two at a time. So it was a big deal. Because you got your brotherhood and stuff. So I went and asked them about that, and they said we'll let you know next meeting. We'll all talk about it, or whatever. And next thing they say, yeah, you can go. That's cool. I was like, all right. They just asked I paid extra dues or something like that to help out because I'll be making good money. Yeah, no problem.
And
And then
how
it became
long are you a member at this point?
probably just about 5 years, 4 to 5 years. You know, so I was one of those guys. Like I never missed anything. I went everywhere. Like everywhere. I mean, they could have said no, but really, you want to tell your brother no? You don't want to get this great opportunity, to go, and I'd keep in touch, and when I come home, and I'd be like, hey, what's going on? Where are we getting together? What's when's this? When's that? Because it was all right in the beginning, and then it just started to become games. It was like you trying to call them up and they wouldn't answer their phone, or they'd be like, well, we might be doing this, but when we might be doing that, well, which is it? And they expect me to try to figure out where to find them. And it's not like, hey, we might be at this bar, that bar, or we might be in Arizona at this clubhouse, or we might be going up to Frisco to this clubhouse, or we might be going up to Vegas. You know what I mean? So it's like I can't go. I can't just start trying to figure like it just got stoppage, and that's when I started reflecting. And I was like, man, like that's how you're gonna treat me. And then on top of it, they had this guy prospecting, and I didn't like him. I didn't like him at all, and he had money. And one of the big things is you don't buy your way into the club, and I feel that that's what happened with this guy. And like the whole time I was gone, he was out buying everything for the guys, treating them to everything, and right, I was overseas. There's probably a good 8-10 months. I'm over there, and then I get the phone call that they just made this guy member. I'm like, really? He just made member? I said, I didn't vote on him. And they gave me this bull reason. Well, you're overseas. I said, I don't care. I'm still an active member. Active members have every right to vote. You know, if you're in prison, you lose that right almost all the time. And
So if you're just in prison, you lose the right to be involved.
yeah, yeah. So I was pissed, and I felt like it was a slap in the face. And here I am paying like double dues. And then double triple assessments for some of the other guys that apparently can't find a job and pay their way a little bit. I don't mind helping them out; they need the help, but I was making good money, and it's like, all right, and then I get treated like that, and it just got worse and worse. And I was always kind of the outsider anyway, because I was from the East Coast, and I didn't grow up with any of those guys, and I didn't know the same people they knew. So it was tough to get in, and I did it. But I always felt like I was the outsider, and and then after that, I just like, what, this is bull. So my next trip coming home is my last trip over there. I'm trying to call them up, and they're just not answering. They're saying they're gonna, they might be here, they might be there. And I said, you know what? I'm going down to the clubhouse, and I'll see what's up. I gathered up all my crap. I go down to the clubhouse. There's nobody there. All right, fine. Threw all the shit in the locker, left the keys, locked the door, and walked out. And that was it. Walked away.
Wow.
Yep.
Did they ever call you after that or anything?
Yeah, it was about I'd say probably 2 months later, and I might have got one or two emails asking for, well, where's this or where's that stuff? Where's this stuff? You know what I mean? It's like, and it's all there. Or I probably gave it to them. Or like, there's one or when new members make it, you always want to give them a gift. So, and I wasn't a jewelry guy, so I'd give the necklace to this guy or a ring to this guy because I didn't wear the jewelry and stuff or whatever. So they're, where's this? Where's this? And I'd be like, hey, I gave it to so and so and so and so. And like 2 months later, I get a phone call from this new member that basically bought his way in the club. And he calls me up. He's like, hey, you need to give us your bike. You need to give us your bike. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, you need to give us your bike. I said, well, come and get it. Click. Never heard from him again.
You need to give us your bike.
Yeah. Like, come on.
Now, have you seen other people leave the club or get pushed out? And
Yeah.
what happened with them? Did they take their bike? Like, what happened with them?
I mean, it all depends on the situation and the member and the charter. Some guys, just want to get out and it's all good. And then some guys, you do something screwed up, you're probably going to lose that bike, And then some guys might get the little, boots to them, because depending on how it goes down, and it's tough.
What do you think would have happened if you were there and people were there?
I don't think anything would have happened. It's like there was no real bad blood between us. I mean, I was ready, if something was going to happen, but, that was the chance I was taking. But they were there. I was like, whatever.
Do you regret quitting the club?
Nah, best decision of my life. Like at first you're like thinking like, well, I just did all this and this and that, but then that you get over that, and then like you feel the calmness, and you feel the freedom, and like that's another thing, you get in that lifestyle for the freedom, you think, and you get in a club like that, and you got more rules than you do in society. So now you got to follow society's rules for the most part, even though you're an outlaw club, but then you got to follow all their rules, and and then you put up with a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of like childish shit that they pull, like high school shit, some of the guys, maybe not this charter or that charter, but I'm sure other people will say, yeah, it happens. It's a little backstabbing or politicking behind your back to get something out of you, or trying to hit on your old lady, and stuff like that, and that shouldn't be happening,
Yeah, and like the popular guy will be able to get away with something, and the unpopular guy can't get away with.
Yeah, that was something. I mean, you join the club and they tell you, oh, we're all equal. One man, one vote. We're all the same. We follow all the same rules. But it turns out it ain't like that, Some of the guys can get away with breaking some of the rules. some of the guys, you can do the smallest thing that really isn't even against the rules, and you're out. You know, you're out.
What were your thoughts when Philly got resolved and all the craziness that was going on in Philly?
I couldn't believe it. I mean, there was a lot of stuff going on there. You know, they had their hands full. You know, and they were put in a tough situation. You know, to start there like that. You know, without any help around. You know, and even still, sometimes you're kind of on your own anyway. Even if you're surrounded by other charters, you know, you got to kind of take care of your own backyard kind of thing. You know, and that's how we were. Even when we were Red Devils, you know, we were expected to handle that county. That was our county. It didn't matter. You know, we had to take care of business in that county as Red Devils. You know, you prove that you can do it. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was shocked because you know I started liking some of those guys. I went there a couple of times, you know, and kept in touch, and then out of the blue, it was like nobody knew what was happening. All of a sudden, they're done. You know, like what? I mean, here I am. I'm thinking about in like a year or so transferring back there. I'm like, oh, I was like, ah, man.
I know you could have been involved with all that.
Yeah, yeah.
And what did you think when you seen that sign with the pagan state and the Hell's Angels sign?
I don't know. I mean, I think they were trying to portray like they were the reason that they were got thrown out of town or something like that. But that wasn't that wasn't but they were going to portray that way. I guess that's how I seen it. But
Yeah,
oh, it's their own club threw them out. You know,
I think
and
they didn't want to deal with it.
yeah, I mean, I've no idea. I'll probably never know. Maybe 20 years we'll see a documentary from somebody and find out the real deal. You know, some of those East Coast guys that did what they did to get him out. You know, maybe that eventually will come out. You know, but
Well, if you're one of those guys out there and you want to tell the story, hit me up.
yeah, yeah, I'd like to hear the story.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah. I mean, I knew most of all those guys. I mean, I was back east a few times. I mean, I remember going to the New Rock's 5th anniversary party in up there in New Rochelle. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
Hanging out with all those guys. And yeah, it was disappointing that happened, but I guess I'm glad it did because maybe I would have transferred there, and then maybe that would have happened, you know. And but then I'd have a little bit better story.
Some of those guys had it really bad, like Repo. He broke his neck,
Yeah,
jaw.
yeah.
Yeah, like have you seen people be put out like that when you remember?
I never saw it like that. I mean, I seen a couple blows going, and not and I never seen anybody get it that bad. Like I can't imagine what they did to deserve that. Like I can't imagine they did anything to deserve that. You know, a lot of those guys. I mean, I thought a lot of those guys were pretty good dudes. A couple of them were, yeah. That's it. Every charter though.
You see what they did to BA.
Yeah, I only met BA once briefly, man, but that's terrible. That is terrible. I couldn't believe that.
Baseball bat went to the face. That was bad. So what's in it for the future for you?
I got a pretty good life now, and I got a really awesome wife. You know, she I think she loves and adores me as much as she probably despises and hates me. But we're actually coming up on our 2-year anniversary here next week, and she's kind of bummed I just took this job. But I was home for our 1st year anniversary, and this girl here, she was like a homebody. Like she was a mom since she's like 20. Was she, with the same guy from 17, gets married at 20, has 2 kids, raises kids her whole life, never experienced anything. She barely even left like the tri-state area, and then so that was her life for 20 years or whatever it was, 20 some years, and then she hooks up with me. We get together, and I'm away on a job in Virginia, and we start going back and forth, seeing each other on the weekends. And she's never even been on a motorcycle until she met me. So her first trip down there to Virginia, and I say, hey, we're going for a ride. So I got a helmet for her and throw her on the back, and I gotta test this girl out. I'm flying down the freeway doing like 100, 105. I reach over, I tap her on the shoulder. I'm like, look. She looked at this speedometer. She's like, but she loved it, and the funny thing is, she rides her own bike now. She rides a big 103 Softail, Heritage Softail, and
Wow.
I went away on another job, and she decided she's just going to get her own bike so she can be on a bike and ride. And went and bought a little Honda or Yamaha, and rode that for a year, and then she was ready and went and bought her a new bike, and she's in love with it. She's addicted to it. So we put on the miles, and it's
It is
just
great. I
yeah,
like riding, man.
yeah. I don't let her just go on these little baby rides. Mom, I said, another little 50, 100 miles. I said, we'll go. And then a normal day for us, me and her, it's like 200 miles, 225, just a normal day. But she'll go. I got her up to over like 350 miles a day now, and she loves it. Now she's bummed because I'm here.
And what's it like to talk to members that were out that you couldn't talk to before? Now
Oh,
that you reconnect with like Pee Wee and
I love it. I absolutely love it because like we don't have like, and I certain places like military, they get their PTSD from all their experiences, and they should have the VA to go to. I know the VA kind of shuns them off a lot, but they have a little bit of help, and maybe former gang members, they might have some immunity, but like guys like us, like you're out, like you had that life, and that's all you knew for all those years, and crazy happened, nuts, and like you kind of have like a little bit of PTSD from that lifestyle, and you don't know how to get back into society, and like you still have like a lot of emotion, and I'll never forget when I was out, and I mean I've probably been out for a couple of years at this point, and I just see someone wearing one of the other team's support shirts, and I was just ready to go over there. I'm like, but I'm like, oh, that ain't my business anymore, right? What do I care, but you get those feelings, and you just don't know how to act, and you still want to get on that bike, and you still want to do those badass things, and do this and do that, and you still want to kick the side mirrors off the cars when they cut you off and stuff like that, but you can't act like that anymore. It's a tough adjustment. I mean I still struggle with it. I've been out, oh god, for probably 15 years or something. I got out right probably 6 8 months before Pee Wee got out, something like that. It was probably within a year, right before then, and so I've been out a while, yeah, and I still have struggles, and I can only imagine what some of these other guys have been in a long time and gotten a lot more stuff, and and what they deal with and how they deal with it. So it's good talking to some of these guys, and then I said I really just started talking to Repo, back and forth on messengers and stuff, and we are trying to hook up. And I got the job, so I told him, I said, when I get back, man, we're gonna hook up, brother. And then and hopefully after this job on my way home, if it works out, I'm gonna hook up with Pee Wee on the way home, man. I can't wait to see that guy.
yeah, he is an awesome guy.
Yeah,
I've met a lot of good guys that were a part of different clubs. Some people are still involved, but I'm an ex-gang member. I straightened my life out.
yeah,
I was addicted to drugs and alcohol. I started doing this podcast, and things started to change for me.
yeah. No, it's good. You made some good choices.
Yeah, definitely, man. I look forward to hearing from you in the future. Maybe I'll have you on with a bunch of different people like Pee Wee and Repo.
Yeah, that'd be great. Get Popcorn on there. I want to go visit.
Yeah,
He sent some. He's posted some pictures up on our private page, and I was like, oh yeah, I gotta come visit and see that.
yeah, Popcorn's awesome.
Yeah.
Did you ever think you would see pagans on the West Coast?
No, no. I mean, the whole time when I grew up, I mean, they were pretty centralized to the tri-state area. PA, Delaware, Maryland, and Jersey. Like that area is like that's where it was, and I did not see that kind of expansion. But
I've seen them in my state too. I've never seen them in Connecticut until recently.
yeah, they're everywhere. Good for them though. They're growing. That's what they want to do. Let them do their thing, just like everybody else. Let them do their thing. Just leave everybody else alone. Get along. Just get along.
I just interviewed someone who has Lou Dopkins tapes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good interview that's going to be dropping soon.
Yeah, yeah. I met him when he was a solo angel guy, whatever they called that club.
Oh no, I'm talking about Lou Dopkins, not J Dopkins.
Oh, okay.
Lou Dopkins is the guy who created the pagans.
Oh, yeah. So I'm thinking that rat undercover guy.
Tell me about him. You met him, and what was that like when he was a solo angel?
Yeah, I was a Red Devil at the time, and we were out in Arizona. I think one of the Red Devil charters out there were having a poker run, so we all went out for that. And that was like in the beginnings of their times. That's when they had that Solo Angels, which they were like some Mexican club, I thought, and here they are, some white guys up here and just Solo Angels, Tijuana patches or whatever they had. And he comes in, he had that little beard with the little things in it, the beads or whatever, like, and acted all like, oh yeah, and he's coming over trying to talk to people. And I remember he talked to me, hey, I'm whatever bird or something he called himself, I don't know. And I'm like, yeah, what's up, man? And he's like trying to just tell me his story. And I just felt something was off about the guy. And he started bragging, oh yeah, what did he tell me? He was, yeah, I'm a bounty hunter and this and that. I'm like, you're a bounty hunter and you're in a club. And I said, you're kind of like law enforcement. You're already saying you're law enforcement without saying it. I'm like, I just had a bad vibe from him. And that was the only time I see him. And then we all know what happened with that clown.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of stories about him.
And
I've interviewed him a while back.
oh, did you? I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah.
Hey, all these podcasts and shows that you're doing and Mooch is doing and stuff like that, it's all pretty new to me.
Yeah.
I'm just starting to try to catch up on some of them.
3 years I've done over 5,000 interviews.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. You should be a millionaire by now.
Hey, it's coming. Eventually, right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you taking the time. I look forward to hearing from you again in the future.
Yeah, I'd love to be on the show, especially with some of those guys.
Yeah. I'll schedule something. We'll all do one.
Sounds good.
A nice hat too. I like that.
Oh man.
Yeah, where'd you get that?
The man. Pee-wee.
Pee-wee?
Yeah.
He rocks that?
He had them made up for us.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Did they ever tell you you're out bad?
No, they never did. But like, you get a phone call 2 months later saying, "Where's your bike?" I mean, that's probably means you're out bad. But they never actually told me. But the way things go now, like it don't matter. Once you're out, they'll say you're out good, and then that next meeting, oh, you're out bad.
Does it really even matter?
I could care less. Care less.
It's not your life no more, right?
Nope, not at all.
Well, I look forward to speaking with you more, man.
Sounds good.
Great one, and thank you. If you like this show, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can get my videos every time they drop. And if you don't like the show, too bad, start your own podcast. Peace.